Hey guys. Oh gosh, I feel like it's always a disaster. Just thought it'd be really funny to film like this. My bookshelf is missing a peg or two. Oh, well, they're right here. But this one's all taped up, and I bought these secondhand, and I need new pegs. So right now, this is what's happening. um, but that is not why we are here. We are here today because I'm going to talk about The Assignment by Friedrich Dürrenmatt. This is translated by Joel Agee, or AG. I just got this last weekend at the library book sale, and I think like Monday I was just like, well, I might as well. It's very tiny, so I went for it, and oh wow, this was a ride. I gave this 4 to 5 stars. I don't even know like what to say about this book, but I feel like I'm going to read you a little bit of the book, but like kind of towards the end. Um, but I feel like the subtitle of this book, so it's called The Assignment, and then the subtitle is, or the title, the full title, I guess, is The Assignment, or On the Observing of the Observer of the Observers. So I feel like that should give you a nice view of what is happening in this book. I mean, not like content wise, but philosophically wise. That's not words. Um, I also, after reading the book, I feel like the cover is just phenomenal because it's a camera and it's watching and watching and watching. And yes, it's really good. So we open up with, what's his name? Otto von Lambert has just found out that his wife has been assassinated. Assassinated, that sounds like much more intense. She was raped and murdered, which is also intense, but in a different way. So he found out that she was raped and murdered in an unknown Arab, or not an unknown, but it's unnamed Arab country in front of the Al Hakim ruins. That's where her body is found. Um, and so he kind of hires this woman named F to like investigate what's happening. She's a journalist or a videographer. I don't really know. A woman filmmaker. I'm really not good at words. So he kind of hires her to like go and see if he can find, or if she can find out what has happened. And so that's like the basic plot, I guess, of the book, if that's what you're curious about. I do have some other things to say about this, though. The first thing is that there are no sentences in this book. I mean, there are. Each chapter is a sentence. So I didn't really notice at first because, chapter one is the margins are quite wide. So this is chapter one. It's right down here and on this next page. So, don't really notice. And then chapter two, also very small. Still don't really notice. And then chapter three, still pretty small. Okay. And then chapter four, no, it's chapter five. Chapter five, I'm sorry. So this has no sentence breaks. It's all one thing, and it's really good. So I feel like there's some people who complain about certain books because there's no quotation marks. So obviously, if that's a problem for you, you're not going to enjoy this reading experience because there are no quotation marks and there are no periods, and it's just like words happen on the page. If you like a challenge, I definitely suggest reading this book. You just, obviously sit down and make sure you have enough time to like stop. Don't like read for 5 minutes because you don't want to stop midway through the sentence. You want to finish at the end of the chapter. There are some really interesting themes and such on observations and observing people. So the rest of this book, I'm just going to kind of like read a little bit of it. It's so hard. There's so much good stuff. Chapter 5 specifically, I really, really enjoyed. It doesn't really have anything to do with the plot of the book, but F is having a conversation with D, who I believe is a philosopher, or I forget what he is, but he's just, I don't even know if it's a he. I'm just assuming. Yeah, no, it is a he. Okay, good. I'm glad I wasn't just assuming. Um, but yeah, so they're having a conversation, or he's, I guess, I don't know if he's actually speaking these words. These are just words that are coming from this character at some point. Oh gosh, I wish I had thought of a specific. Oh, okay, so let me see, where does it start? Okay. D, for a long time, a logical, it's mid of a sentence, so it's not going to make sense at first, but it will make sense. D, for a long time, a logical problem loosely involving a mirror telescope he had installed in his house in the mountains, an unwieldy thing that he occasionally pointed at a cliff from which he was being observed by people with field glasses, with the effect that as soon as the people observing him through their field glasses realized that he was observing them through his telescope, they would retreat in a hurry, an empirical confirmation, in short, of the logical conclusion that anything observed requires the presence of an observer, who, if he is observed by what he is observing, himself becomes an object of observation, a banal logical interaction which, however transposed into reality, had a destabilizing effect. For the people observing him and discovering that he was observing them through a mirror telescope felt caught in the act, and since being caught in the act produces embarrassment, and embarrassment frequently leads to aggression, more than one of these people, after retreating in haste, had come back to throw rocks at his house as soon as he had dismantled the telescope, a dialectical process, said D, that was symptomatic of our time, when everyone observed and felt observed by everyone else, so that a very suitable definition of contemporary man might be that he is man under observation, observed by the state for one, with more and more sophisticated methods, while man makes more and more desperate attempts to escape being observed, which in turn renders man increasingly suspect in the eyes of the state, and the state even more suspect in the eyes of the man. Similarly, each state observes and feels observed by all the other states, and man, on another plane, is busy observing nature as never before, inventing more and more subtle instruments for this purpose: cameras, telescopes, stereoscopes, radio telescopes, X-ray telescopes, microscopes, synchrotrons, satellites, space probes, computers, all designed to coax more and more new observations out of nature, from quasars trillions of light years away to particles a billionth of a millimeter in diameter, to the discovery that electromagnetic rays are nothing but radiant mass, and mass is frozen electromagnetic radiation. It's just like crazy, okay? So that's like a page of this book. I honestly, I obviously would not recommend this to anyone, but it's just so good. I really, really enjoyed reading it. I giggled a lot during it, which is like weird because it's kind of like the investigation of a rape and murder. So you don't really think of giggling as the type of thing that happens when you read that. But like, that's not really the real thing that's being talked about in this book. It's just like I don't want to say a method, but it's just like the catalyst, I guess, for all of the observations in this book. Yeah, so do what you will with that information. I thought it was fantastic. He's a Swiss author too. He's from Switzerland. So if you're in the mood to read non-US authors, it's very tiny and translated. So thanks for watching.